Sharon Cornegay. The Franklin County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board, or ADAM, is an umbrella agency that oversees how $80 million is distributed for a variety of services. When you go to the polls in November, you'll have a say on issue 2, a 10-year levy for $2.2 mils in replacement money for ADAM. Each year, ADAM agencies provide prevention, counseling, and treatment services for some 34,000 people in our community. If issue 2 passes, nearly $40 million, half of their current budget, will remain intact. If the levy fails, would we really see a difference in the services currently offered by agencies in our community? Well, here to answer those questions and more are our guests, Dr. Philip Cass, the president of the ADAM Services Board, as well as Jackie Calderone, director of the Short North Shortstop Teen Center. Also joining us is a former participant from the center, Daimon Johnson, who's now on the staff. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Sharon. It's good to be here.
Dr. Cass, according to a recently published report, the voters are really having trouble with your identity. Tell us, what is the ADAM Board?
You're absolutely correct. People are having trouble with the identity, and a lot of the problem with identity is the fact that the ADAM Board is a planner and a funder and an evaluator. We don't deliver direct services. Our statutory requirement is that we not deliver direct services, but fund and plan these services. And it's hard because people aren't used to coming in and out of our doors and getting treatment. And being a planner kind of makes us a bit of an enigma. So we've been working hard over this past year to try to help people understand more about what we do and where the money goes, because in many respects, the ADAM Board and the ADAM system is a real safety net for our community. It's obviously terribly important that the community understand what is voting on and the significance of this issue on November 5th.
So what percentage of your budget comes from homeowners?
45% of ADAM's budget comes from this 2.2 mil levy that's on the ballot this November. This 2.2 mil levy is a replacement levy. We're presently operating on a 2.2 mil levy, so this is not a new tax that we're asking for, and it's not an increase in millage that we're asking for. We're asking for replacement of the 2.2 mil levy that was passed in 1991. That'll basically maintain alcohol, drug, and mental health services in Franklin County.
Now, you've gone to the voters before to get levies, and you haven't been successful. How critical is this levy?
Actually, we've been successful every time we've been to the ballot, with one exception, and that was last year. And that was a situation in which we were seeking 0.2 mil increase. We went a year early to avoid a situation in which we were backed up against the wall as we are now, because this levy expires, the present levy expires in December. We are thus asking for a replacement and not asking for additional millage. We made $9.5 million in cuts in the system this year.
Was that fat that you cut?
I'm afraid it wasn't fat. There's not a lot of fat. 95% of the money that comes to the ADAM Board goes out in services. So when we were making cuts this past year, it was not cuts to fat. It really was cuts in services. We've already had to cut back and diminish the amount of services provided in Franklin County. But we have done so, we think, in a thoughtful way. And the system that remains is a vital one. It's an important one, but not one that can sustain 45% of its resources going away. We won't have the safety net in this community.
Well, you certainly know the mood of taxpayers at this
Yes.
point. They don't want to pay any more. In fact, I've even seen some criticisms of the salaries at the ADAM Board.
I think in any time when we're talking about tax issues, every place that money is spent is vulnerable to criticism, for sure. The ADAM Board's very careful about picking and choosing what kind of costs we pay for. And what we do, Sharon, is really look at the cost per unit of service that's delivered. It's a little bit technical, but the issue of a person's salary is not unimportant to us. But what's really important for us as a payer, and a payer on behalf of taxpayers, is to make sure that the cost per unit that we pay is a really efficient one and a reasonable one. And we're very comfortable with the cost of services that we're purchasing in the community from the contract agencies that we buy those services from.
And one of those contract agencies is the Shortstop Teen program. What is your program, Jackie?
Oh my goodness. We've been described as a magical home away from home for kids who live in the short north, ages 12 to 19. We offer a variety of programs from arts to computers to a library to recreation to a kunga drum ensemble that's performing all over town. And what we hope to do is, and what I think we do, is provide an alternative to the streets for young people, to violence, to drug and alcohol abuse. And certainly there's lots of questions. People wonder, do prevention programs work? And we've been in existence for 5 years, and we're seeing that, in fact, they do work. And it's one of the reasons we brought Daimon here today, to give a living example.
In fact, Daimon, you were 14 years old when you went to the Short North, I keep calling it Short North, you are in the Short North, the Shortstop Teen Center. What took you there when you were 14?
Well, I used to live across the alley from Shortstop, and a bunch of friends of mine who saw it before I did went over there, and they said they had a ball when they went over there. And this is like, I mean, this was about, I can't think of the year, but when it happened, they came back and told me about it like the next day. And so when I came, they was like, first they said, you know, there's a place over here where you can play pool. And at that time, that was what was on my mind, you know, playing pool and foosball, basketball, stuff like that. So I came and I went that night, and it was just, I had a ball when I went.
And so you were 14 and you stuck around until they decided to hire you?
Well, all through the time that I was there, I never would think to be, you know, I always thought I would be a member and graduate to become something else, but I never thought I would be part of staff. And then when the opportunity came, I was just like, yeah, I can take this. I like it. And I don't know, it's pretty cool.
So how threatened do you feel? I mean, it's a far cry from talking about the nuts and bolts of Adam needing the money to, needing the levy to be passed to fund different agencies. How do you make the case for why the Shortstop Teen Center should continue?
Well, I mean, I don't want to use myself as an example, but I know that there's so much other things out there that will pull people at that age of 14 and even younger. They would just pull them to tell them, you know, why don't you come do this, you know, quit school, don't get a job, sell drugs. And I mean, it's just stuff like that. And to see that there's like a light, like an open door, like you can take the dark road, or you can take this road. You take that road, and I mean, the way I put it, it was Shortstop, the good road, the light road. That's for me. And at that time, there was a lot of stuff going on that I could have done.
Well, Phil, what do you say to people who might suggest, well, there were settlement houses that Daimon might have gone to, and how does this speak to your mission of alcohol, drug addiction, and mental health services?
There are settlement houses in town. What is, I think, unique to Shortstop and several other teen drop-in centers that the Adam Board funds is not only the fact that they're drug-free, but they also provide drug information and drug education to people that participate. So there really is both a socialization, self-esteem aspect to the prevention efforts that are taking place at Shortstop, but there's also a very specific alcohol-drug message component to it, and that does distinguish it from a lot of other kinds of services that are in town. The reality is, Sharon, that kids, I mean, this is one end of the spectrum of what Adam does in terms of funding prevention, but kids need these kinds of alternatives. They need...
So you're saying just say no. They need more than just say no.
They need more than just say no. They need alternatives. They need role models. These kids' lives, listening to Daimon tell his story about Shortstop is just exactly what we as a community need to be doing. We need to be producing kids. Daimon's working now. He's got a job. He's clear in his head about what his life needs to mean to him, and it doesn't include alcohol and drugs.
Do you save everyone, Jackie?
We have a pretty good track record. It's exciting. We struggle because, you know, at that middle age, the 16, 17-year-olds, I'll be truthful, we go through some tough times. We've got some tough kids, and everyone has their rocky road, but we had a staff meeting about a month ago, and we looked at the kids that had been coming consistently over 5 years, and we thought, you know, first of all, they're all alive, nobody's in prison, and sometimes that has to be your first goal, given what some of the kids experience. Kids with jobs, number of kids off in college. 2 girls just started college this month. Just one success story after another. And the successes vary, you know. I mean, it's, for some kids, it's just the fact that they have a job.
Well, Daimon, go ahead.
It's just you have to take each young person at the place where they're at and where they most likely would have been at if there hadn't been an alternative. Given, for example, one young person, his cousin, was one of the kids arrested with the Short North Posse. The other...
Whose cousin?
Well, I don't want to mention names.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Not
Okay.
Daimon. I'm sorry,
Okay.
but
Someone
just
who
one young person who's in his second year of college who used to go to the shortstop. He's in college. The kid who didn't go to shortstop is in jail. Is it because of us? I don't know. I like to think that we had an impact.
So, Daimon, what do you say to taxpayers who say, I am just fed up, I am tired of paying for things like this?
I mean, I don't know how to put it. I mean, it's just some people, you know, taxpayers, I can understand some taxpayers don't want to put money at some places, but it's hard to say because, I mean, it's proof. I mean, it's real living proof. If I were to ask some people who were caught up in stuff like that, who did go to shortstop, and like the ones like you mentioned, like the college students, and the cousin, I mean, it's proof. It's really out there. I mean, stuff like that. And I mean, you should never, I don't know, it's kind of like if you were there, if you were to come to shortstop, you would see, I mean, every day there's like something going on, and it's like never a boring day, excuse me. It's never a boring day. So, I mean, just come out and see it for yourself, and then you should make the decision. Don't make the decision if you're like at home, just sit.
Well, some people feel we'll make that decision based on dollars and cents. What is it going to cost, let's say, the owner of a $100,000 home?
Let me answer that, if I may, in a minute. One of the things in terms of the whole economics of the issue 2, and other issues are on the ballot, the most cost-effective thing we can do is to never have a person get ill and need care. Mm-hmm. Once that's happened, and people start to penetrate through, whether it be the healthcare system, the alcohol and drug system, the mental health system, costs just mount and mount and mount. Not only in treatment, but those who get into treatment are lucky. The cost to society of people not, if we don't prevent this stuff from happening, the cost to society, jails, in emergency rooms, is far, far greater than the investment that we make for this kind of levy that does the kinds of things that we're talking about tonight. This is cost-effective community support. This is smart behavior on a part of a community. I think this community is wise, and is wise enough to know the impact of not having these kinds of services and allowing ourselves to be in a situation in which the real costs, the prison costs, the jail costs, the emergency room costs, they're going to happen, and they're going to get paid.
Well, I want to talk to you about the what-ifs. What if it passes? What if it fails? But I had asked you about the homeowner. What's a homeowner going to pay?
A homeowner of a $100,000 home will be paying about $65 to $67 a year. And I say it that way because this is a replacement levy, and it will be dependent upon how much a person's property appreciated over the last several years. In essence, if a property appreciated on the average a $100,000 home, it would be about $8 a year more in taxes for this replacement.
But you
levy.
say that the total amount will be about $6 a month?
That's it.
For the levy. Now, let's talk about the what-ifs. If this levy passes, are you just going to be able to maintain, 50 agencies you currently support?
If the levy passes, when the levy passes, we will be able to maintain the current system. We are constantly looking for efficiencies in the system so that in a situation in which what we can do is maintain the current system, we're going to continue to work to find greater efficiencies so we are able to provide even more care.
So you might
we're part of the healthcare system, and the healthcare system in general is looking to try to find those kinds of efficiencies, and we've been searching for that as well. Shortstop is a good example of an organization that has contributed to making the ATOM system more efficient. And I know Jackie can talk about that because she's done a good job with it.
Well, you talk about the Shortstop. Would there ever come a time as a planning agency, would there ever come a time when you would say to Jackie, well, I just don't think you're providing the services we want you to provide. We're going to take our money and go to another agency, or maybe...
The ATOM board evaluates services all the time. And if they're not cost effective, if they're not delivering outcomes, we require that agencies measure outcomes. If those things aren't being achieved, we won't continue to buy services from that agency.
And you have done that?
And we have done that. We've done that a number of times. We've also done some things in the past year to consolidate some agencies and some services to make them more efficient. And more of that's on the horizon.
Now, if the levy does not pass, are you out of business?
If the levy does not pass, we will become largely a state-directed board. By that I mean the funds that will be left will be basically federal and state monies, most of which are earmarked. We'll be in the business of serving the most severely mentally ill, the most severely mentally ill adults and children, and providing not even the basics in alcohol and drug care. The system as we know it today will just not be a system anymore. It'll be a very a system that's not serving, as our mission statement calls for, the well-being of the community. We'll be focused on just the most severely ill. Those monies are almost all earmarked and will be directed principally by the state. So choices that we make to serve runaway kids, to do prevention like what we're talking about tonight, to serve victims of domestic violence, even things like outpatient care.
One of the places.
Yeah, even outpatient care for children and families will not be available if we don't succeed on November 5th. A lot in this community is on the line with this issue 2 in November.
So could your doors close, Jackie?
It's a scary thought. Almost close to half our budget comes from the ATOM board at this point.
So what would happen if you lost?
We would never close our doors. I'd put myself under a truck first, but it would be a terrible struggle. We'd have to cut back hours, cut back staff, and I work supposedly 24 hours a week at this point, so it would be tight.
Well, Phil, we talked about the issue of settlement houses earlier. What do you say to those people who suggest that there are other places where these needs can be met, not just settlement houses, but there are other agencies or other ways of doing this?
There's no place in Franklin County, there's no agency, there's no funding source that's going to replace nearly $40 million in alcohol, drug, and mental health treatment and prevention services. It just isn't there. So often, I think when it comes to services like this, we often ask ourselves, am I really willing to pay for it because maybe I'm not using it today?
I was about to say, this is a constituency. You serve a constituency
That's right.
that may not vote.
People saying, I don't use the services today, I'm not sure that I need to pay for them. And what I say to that, Sharon, is that there's almost no family. Sometimes you have to scratch the surface to get there, but there's virtually no family in our community that in one way or another, someplace, some way, is not impacted by alcohol, drug, and mental health issues. Even if there is no history, never been a person who's needed mental health care or alcohol and drug care. After midnight, when you're driving on the street, think about how many cars you're passing that are being driven by impaired people. Your life is being impacted by alcohol, drug, and mental health care issues. When we treat, when we prevent, everybody in this community benefits. It is a safety net. It's a safety net in the sense that when you do need the services, and if a family does need the services, you need it there. And you need it there now, and you need it there in high quality. It's too late when they're gone.
So what are the polls telling you?
It's going to be very close. We're optimistic, but it's going to be very close. Our campaign is beginning to roll out now, and we're hoping that the information, and it'll be a very educational campaign, because we know, we believe this community is a smart electorate. And when they understand what ATOM does and what we fund and what the impact is, that they will support this. So we're going to be doing a lot of education as opposed to just plain old campaigning the issue. This is going to be an educational campaign.
It's a big community, so are you going to target, or are you going to use this shotgun approach?
We're doing, there'll be TV, there will be radio.
So you're doing ads?
We're doing TV ads, we're doing radio. There will be literature drops. We're going to do over 500 precincts of literature this year. We're going to be doing in excess of 80,000 phone calls. We're going to get the word out to folks about what ADAM is and what this issue stands for.
So Daimon, you're 19.
Yes.
You can vote. So what are people your age saying about this? I mean, do they see the need?
I mean, as far as people my age, I don't know if as far as them seeing the need, because it's like the ages that we focus on are past my age. I mean, or below my age. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I can look back at...
But I mean, people your age, are they going to vote? Are they going to...
Everybody is talking about voting now. I can truly say that. Like, I'm ready and waiting myself. And I'm asking other people my age also, like, are you registered? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, ready to do it.
And when you look back at 5 years ago, when you decided to take that step and go across the alley and go to the Short Stop Teen Center, you really think your life is different for having made that decision?
Yes.
Have you seen friends who didn't make that choice and what they've become?
Well, it's like they haven't made the choice because it wasn't given to them. There was never a person that I know about who told them and they just said, nah, I don't want to go. You know, it's never been that. It's everyone that I've known who's went are usually still there, to tell the truth, or my age have went on to go to college. I don't know, I couldn't tell you about that.
Well, you've told us, Jackie, that you have a Kunga group, you said, and you have do art and you have pool tables. Are you doing art therapy?
We don't. No, we do art, and I know that therapeutic results come from it, but we don't profess to be art therapists. What we do as a drop-in center, as Daimon was saying, we listen to young people. We find out if someone has a greater problem. That's where we collaborate with other agencies. And I wanted to mention that we have now hooked up with Directions for Youth, thanks to some advice from the ADAM board, because we had gone to the ADAM board to ask for help. We said, we're struggling, we're so small, we don't want to turn into some big monstrosity, but how can we deal with this administration?
Well, you've touched on something, Jackie, and I want to ask Phil about it, too. There are some people who said that, you know, it ought to be a mega agency, that instead of, you know, little agencies, smaller agencies doing a little bit, that if you had everyone under one roof, you could give a big wallop of service.
I think that would be unfortunate. I think that each neighborhood, that each population has differences. The way that we operate in the Short North is very different than you would operate in Upper Arlington, for example. You have to have people who are sensitive to the kids, to the culture. Sometimes when you get so big, it's hard to have that intimacy. That's the kind of thing that the kids talk about, that they love about us. That's why they come to Shortstop, because there's someone who can understand them, who knows their name, who can listen.
So when you make the case for people, supporting this levy, are you telling them to support the levy because of you or because of ADAM? Because of ADAM, because even though we have a tiny budget and we receive a certain amount of money from ADAM, that might be a little tiny speck in the entire sea. Everything that we deal with is affected. Our young people have parents and family members who might receive any variety of services from ADAM agencies. We collaborate with Godman Guild, with Huckleberry House, with Directions for Youth, to make sure that everything fits in, that we're not duplicating services. Is very important to us. I'm a taxpayer. I'm frugal, you know. Everything that we do is impacted because the greater community, where we're located in the Short North and High Street, there's a myriad of homeless people who have any number of needs for assistance. And if these agencies didn't exist, that pressure comes back to affect our families, to affect our kids. Everything affects our kids. Prostitution, you name it, which of course gets into drug and alcohol issues. Phil, in our final seconds, you make a case. What would be your case?
Franklin County has been, and I believe wants to continue to be, a quality, caring community. A lot's being said about the future of our country, the future of the state, the future of this community. We are part of the fabric. We are one of the safety nets in this community that, if not preserved, will impact the quality of life in some subtle and others not so subtle ways. We really are asking people to vote for our future, for the future quality of this community.
It's hard to measure prevention.
Not when somebody like Damon's sitting next to you. It's not hard to measure prevention.
Daimon, you make a case.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, one thing that separates Shortstop from all other types of groups and preventions is, like Jackie was saying, that we have like a family type thing. I mean, it's not a big company type thing. It's just you go, like you say, everybody knows your name. You don't have to worry about who's that looking at me, you know, I don't like that person, because that person will come up to you and talk to you. I mean, it's just a family thing. That's one thing that separates us from other types of groups.
All right. I'd like to thank you for being with us this evening on Viewpoint, and want to look to see what happens on November 5th. I want to thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you for watching Viewpoint. I'm Sharon Cornegay. We'll see you next week.
Be sure to tune in tonight at 10 for Jazz Voices and the Kim Pencil Group, a musical experience you don't want to miss. That's tonight at 10 here on WOSU TV 34. Stay tuned now for the McLaughlin Group.